is now over. A hard and at times bitter campaign has come to an end. On the results, the People's National Congress, in the interests of peace and stability in Guyana, has agreed with the support of the United Force to form the government. One of the more serious tasks facing us at this moment is the attainment of independence at the earliest point of time. One of the disturbing features of the election, which we have noted, is the apparent cleavage existing in our society, brought about by colonialism and 7 years of mismanagement and misrule. It has come to our knowledge that despite the years of disaster suffered by the people of this country, a large section of the electorate was persuaded against its best interests to vote for the party formerly in power as a result of the dishonest and opportunist propaganda that, unless that party was returned to power, those people would suffer. The new government, headed by me, intends to show by its actions in the immediate future, and indeed throughout its term of office, that this is not true. The problem of racial cleavage, racial antagonism, and distrust, which the last government allowed to develop during its term of office, is still with us. But our government recognizes this as a challenge which it intends to accept and which it is determined to overcome. My government considers that it is a matter of the greatest importance and the utmost urgency that an atmosphere of relaxation be established immediately. The reduction of tension, which is already apparent and which will become more pronounced with every passing day, when it is realized that not only are we intent on being fair and just, but also that we have at our disposal the means to carry out our intention, is merely the first fruits of our attainment of office. Enemies of this country would like to see racial division and antagonism continue. They will not have that satisfaction. The government recognizes that its duty is to rule in the interests of all the people of this country. It will dispel the fears of the apprehensive and confound the hopes of those who seek the destruction of this country. To be specific, this government holds that all the people of this country are equally important, whether they belong to a large group or to a small group. To us, the Amerindians are important. To us, the Chinese are important. To us, the Portuguese are important. To us, the Europeans are important. To us, the mixed races are important. To us, the Africans are important. To us, the Indians are important. In short, all Guyanese are important and valued members of our community, and we cherish them and consider that as a government, it is our duty and privilege to guard, protect, and further the real interests of all. It would appear that the would-be destroyers of this country have sought to convince our Indian citizens that they have cause to fear because of the removal of the former government. We can assure our Indian citizens here and now that rather than cause for fear, they have much to hope for from the new government. This government is not bent on the confiscation of property. This government will not pursue policies likely to bring the races into collision. This government will maintain law and order. This government, while in office, will never declare its impotence to see that the lives and property and personal safety of any citizens are protected. We are fully aware that attempts will be made in the future, as in the past, to create disturbances. All of us know who are likely to create disturbances, and who think that they have some benefit to be derived from chaos and violence. We have no benefit to derive from such things, and we will stamp out firmly and ruthlessly any disruption of the calm and studied and steady progress which we are determined to establish and maintain in this country for the good of all. We ask for time, patience, understanding. The damage done over the last 7 years cannot be repaired in a day. We cannot and will not condone and accept the nepotism and corruption of the past 7 years. Changes are necessary, and changes will be made. But no one who is honest and possessed of ability need have the least apprehension. The results of the election and the formation of our government are not to be considered a victory for one party, but a triumph for the whole Guyanese people. There is nothing to gloat over. Nobody is pantap. But all of us are, I am sure, sobered by the realization of how near we came to having our country destroyed, and how arduous were our endeavors to give this country the chance to live, to breathe, to survive. It has been reported to me that some established organizations have made representations to the British government about Guyanese affairs. I wish to announce that in the immediate future, I shall seek to hold discussions with the Mahasabha, the Hindu organization, the United Sadr Islamic Anjuman, ASCRIA, GALE, the Chinese Association, and of course with the Archbishop of the West Indies, the Roman Catholic Bishop of Georgetown, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the Congregational Conference, the Methodist Body, and other religious and cultural organizations. My purpose as Premier is to establish a consultative democracy. And now that the majority of the Guyanese electorate has declared in favor of the government in power, it is my wish that Guyanese in and out of the legislature, with malice towards none and goodwill towards all, will settle down to the engaging task of binding up the nation's wounds and charting a new course, a new road of peace and prosperity for Guyana.
Recordings just.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Over to You. You know, the first thing we do is our administrative duties, which is share the link, like the program, share the link, like the program. A pleasant good evening to everyone. Good evening, Guyana. Good evening, New Amsterdam. Good evening, BV Triumph. Pleasance, Buxton, Golden Grove, Aslington, Victoria, and it goes on and on. New Amsterdam. And then to our listeners, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Mr. Lester Tom, good evening to you, and thank you so very much for invoking our national motto, one people, one nation, one destiny. Again, one people, one nation, one destiny. Good evening, Miss Camille Cox. Welcome to the program. How are you doing this evening?
Good evening, Wayne, and it's a pleasure being here with you again tonight. Good evening to your viewers, and I am fine, a little under the weather. Not really under the weather, but under the weather. It's cold out here, it's raining, but still enjoying the rain.
Good evening to you, Miss Cox, and thank you, although you're a little under the weather, for taking the time to come on tonight. I know you can see that you have on your yellow and I have on my yellow. Well, guys, tonight is a little bit of a AFC team here on Over to You. We know that the coalition has more than three parties, but there's three that really stands out: the PNC, the PNCR, the AFC, and the WPA. So this evening we're doing yellow, representing the AFC. We're gonna have the PNCR night, and we're gonna have the WPA night the next time Dr. Hines is here. I hope to have Dr. Hines in the month of June, and we're gonna deal with the WPA on that night. So, Miss Cox, welcome. Um,
Thank
well, we
you.
know that tomorrow is Independence in Guyana, right? Isn't that so?
Yes, it is.
Right. I don't see the type of spark from the people. I don't see the enthusiasm. I know right now that the installed government in place that is in place doesn't give Guyanese much to be happy and to be enthused about. But with that being said, we should not allow anyone to take away from us celebrating our
Our
independence.
independence, of
You
course,
know,
of
we
course.
don't need we don't need artists to come from all over the world to celebrate independence. No, Guyanese know how to do it on their own in grand style. And for all Guyanese on the ground in Guyana, and even for those in the diaspora, I would say take some time tomorrow and reflect on our independence. It was a massive accomplishment. It was a massive undertaking to get to the point of independence. Um, Ms. Cox, do you want to elaborate a little on independence and what it means to you?
Um, I am proud to be a Guyanese, and I'm so proud of our late leader who brought us through that struggle so that we can gain independence. Um, but moreover, being independent as a person is very, very important. So I'm celebrating two types of independence: independence as a Guyanese and independence as a person. Are you hearing me?
Well said, very well said, Miss Cox. Thank you for that introduction. And we can recall back when the British government would have hosted a conference in London regarding independence for British Guyana. I think it was in November of 1965. And the then British government agreed to grant independence to Guyana, was then called British Guyana,
Yeah, we
in the
were
month
under the
of May
colony then.
1966. Right.
Yeah,
May 26, 1966.
yeah,
Thereafter, I think the PNC and a smaller party, a more
yeah.
conservative party,
Coalition.
formed,
Yeah,
formed
coalition.
what was
Yeah,
correct, formed what was then a coalition government. Yes, you
right.
heard that, ladies and gentlemen. A
Mm.
coalition government. So it's not today that
Yeah,
coalitions
a small
exist. It's not
conservative
today.
party formed. Yeah,
It's not today that coalition governments exist. It's not today that coalition governments have shown that they can be successful. And that coalition government was led by no other but the
Linden
Honorable
Farm
late
Sampson
great
Board.
Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham,
Yes,
who took the colony into, because it was a colony at that time, into independence under
right.
its new name, under its new name, Guyana.
Guyana. Yep.
So today, on the eve of independence, it's only fitting. And thank you so much, Lemon, for playing that beautiful delivery by Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. And you would have heard in that delivery how he spoke of governing for all Guyanese,
Yeah.
something that is missing today.
In Guyana right now. Yeah.
It is missing. And we need to go back to that. We need to go back. You know, Miss Cox, I had the privilege of sitting down with some 60s and 50s and 70s babies, Guyanese babies, and have them walk me through what it was like, back in the late 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s. And it was quite interesting. And I know we have quite a few individuals that joined the program that would have been around at that time also, and have a good understanding of what was happening in that time as compared to what is happening now in Guyana. What we have right now in Guyana is an installed regime that has no respect for no one.
What we have is dictators.
Well, I cannot disagree with you on that because I feel the same way. They seem to want to infringe on everything: freedom of speech, freedom of press, any which way possible to oppress and marginalize the Guyanese people. From a holistic perspective, it doesn't matter race, class, gender. It doesn't matter when it comes to the PPPC. I was listening to a program earlier where the mayor of Linden, the Honorable
Oh,
Mr.
that
Sherman
was
Solomon, yes,
yeah, that was
yes, it was powerful. It was positive, and I actually got to listen to two such programs because Apostle Eliakim also
yeah.
had a program which was very, very powerful also. And he did kind of touch on, a few things with regards to the opposition. And when we analyze, we cannot show biases. If we see something wrong, we have to call it. That's how I do this. If I see something wrong, I call it. What we need in Guyana, we need consistency across the board. We need good governance. Ms.
accountability.
Cox, Ms. Cox, from an AFC perspective, can you please talk on, what you guys have in store for the Guyanese people? Because you guys are going to be a part of the coalition. What do you guys have in store for the Guyanese people? What are you guys, some things that you guys intend to put to table when you guys meet as a coalition?
Um, the my opinion. Um, accountability, and every Guyanese must be happy and comfortable in their own land. I mean, this is our home, and if we're going to take leadership and going to take governance, then we have to put the people first. We have to make the nation happy and comfortable. We have to be able to bring down crime. We must be able to allow people to go into the supermarkets, go into the markets, and be able to take their children for a little snack, a little outing, and these kinds of things. We have to invest in our people. And that is what I think one of the things And for me, one of the most important things that the AFC will be looking at is looking at investing in people. There's an old saying, a happy wife, a happy life, a happy nation, a happy life.
Well said. A happy nation would also bring about a happy government, because government, if the nation is happy, they have a right to be happy, because it would have
That's
showed that they are executing their duties and not just merely occupying the seats of government. And that is what has been going on over the last, well, I'm not even going to say 23 plus years, because it's more than 23, the last 30 years or so in Guyana. It's just been merely occupation. People just occupy, get themselves rich, and forget about the people. But I see a comment here, Miss Cox, from one by the name of Harun Mohammed. I'm figuring that this is a PPP individual. He says, Barnum is a waste. Well, Harun, I don't know what year you was born in, my friend, but if you was born in the 60s and the 70s and even part of the 80s, and you have an education, my friend, that's because of LFS, Lyndon Forbes, Samson Barnum. Okay,
that's right.
when you
That's
look at the literacy scale, and Apostle Eliakim spoke on this, and yes, I saw the details on it. When you looked at the literacy scale back in that time, Guyana was in the top 5. Actually, they were in the top 3. Mr. Harun
yeah.
Mohammed, you do some research and see
Literacy.
where Guyana lies
On
right now.
on literacy.
Everybody,
On literacy.
not everybody, Harun Mohammed, wants to be dunces. So you need to go do some research, get your information correct, and then come on this platform. When you are on this platform, is a set of intellectual and intelligent people are here on this platform. When we come and we host shows on this platform, we got to really come good, because we have an intelligent audience. So if you want, you could go join Freddie Kissoon or somebody else show, or Critic or one of those, because you don't look like if you qualified to be here. All right, Miss Cox, let's
Then
continue.
I'm seeing Colin Byrne really saying is what I tell them in the bottom house meeting. And he is so correct. He is so correct. That is what, when they have their bottom house meeting, that is what they tell them. You know, in 2014, before the coalition got into government, the PPP was telling the people don't vote for them. When the police they go in, they're gonna send them police to come and rape y'all children. They're gonna send the police, the army to do y'all this. They're gonna send this. They're gonna send the and they're gonna send the and as far as I'm concerned, they were the persons that benefit the most when the coalition was in power. And I will dare one of them to tell me or show me where the coalition hurt them or sent a police or anybody to damage them. Where and when?
I was gonna also ask Mr. Harun Mohammed, where is the, because I gave out a whole lot of names week last week program towards the end of individuals that were executed, extrajudicial killings. I want Mr. Harun Mohammed to give me the list of extrajudicial killings under the coalition, or a list that is up at the airport to interrogate anyone that comes to Guyana. You guys got to be careful how you talk. There's
When
so,
this
yes, go
what
ahead.
that is what they're being paid to do. You know, that's what they're being paid to do, and they have to do their job because they have to earn a living. So just ignore them. Just ignore them. I
Yes,
mean, the comment section family handles them very well.
very well.
So
Yes,
let's get on
yes.
with our program.
My listeners and viewers, please take care of Mr. Harun Mohammed. He's not going to get any more time on this show. This show is not like a Barajagio press conference. We don't come on here to talk nonsense about other people and propaganda. We come to deal with the issues that's affecting everyday Guyanese on the ground in Guyana, something that Barry Jagdeo fails to want to even participate in. He doesn't want to talk about the issues. So Miss Cox, I would have understood that there's a ship, a power ship that is supposed to be providing, I think, 30 something megawatts or something like that of power, and you guys are still getting the same amounts of blackout. How is that going?
When this
No,
whole thing is this whole thing is a joke. I'm living not too far from where that ship is. And it's a joke. It's it's a whole joke, honest.
okay, so you haven't seen any improvements.
No, I haven't seen any improvement.
Okay, I'm going to just chalk that up as another failed project under the PPPC. Let me just make a note of that. It has failed miserably. Okay, just like the fiber optic cable, just like
Yeah,
all, yeah, the whole oil industry is failing because the Guyanese people is not getting anything from it, right?
that
So
is too cool.
another failure,
I
another
mean,
failure.
Guyanese people I think by now Guyanese people are aware of all the projects under the PPP. It's either delay or fail. Guyanese people are well aware. It amazed me that from 2020, how much Guyanese get involved in the know-how of Guyana. It's amazing the amount of people now get not in politics, but in politics to know what is going on in our country. You know, Guyanese fully aware of all the projects that fail. They're fully aware of all the projects that stall, delay. They're fully aware of all who get in the $1 million projects. You know, these are things that Guyanese know.
Well, Miss Cox, to the
But
extent
when
and the
as we celebrate independence, I would like us to look back at some of the things that we had. You
you
know,
would like
some
for
of
us
the
to look
things.
back. You would like for us to look back at some of the things that we had, Miss Cox.
Yes,
You're saying you would
childhood
like
days, the things that
the
we
childhood
had.
days, okay, on the Lyndon Forbes Samson Barnum.
Yes,
You would like to,
yes.
okay,
Why I would like to do that, there are so many persons out here saying that, um, like the fella before Bornum, this and that and whatever. But I can remember, my first bicycle was a Kali.
okay. Your first bicycle was a Kali. All
A
right, just
Kali.
some
And
background for you.
Kali,
Kali was put together in Guyana. Those bicycles
right,
were produced
right in
right in
Borby,
Guyana,
right in
in
Borby,
Borby. Correct.
right.
Correct is right.
And at that time, we used to call it, ride a mile and walk a rest. Kali is the best.
Walk a mile and walk the rest. Kali is the
Kali
best.
is the best, right.
Interesting. To go
Um,
along with Kali,
when we,
we had we had
mhm,
the short factory, right? We had the short factories. There was one out at Pleasance that used to
Pheasant, right,
produce manufacture
right.
shorts and what we call in the day short jack, right?
And they used to produce um buttons out of coconut
Wood.
shell.
Right, yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
Right. They used to
Yes,
bring buttons out of coconut shell. And then we had the glass factory. It's just
right.
about a month ago, my mother had those glass. Well, she's passed now, and I had one of that glass remaining. And my granddaughter unfortunately destroyed it. But I was carrying that glass so that I could have, educate them about the things that we had. We had the glass. Then we had tapir.
Well, Tapir was assembled also in Guyana.
I remember
Tapir
in
was in the
Pleasant, he was the first public transportation after the Tata bus.
correct, correct, correct. At that time, you had the Tata bus, and then you had Tapirs and stuff that used to do the private
Mhm.
transportation.
Mhm.
You know, if you
Right,
want
and
to
then
get
we
down
had
there faster than the bus would take to come, you
right,
know, you would
we
take
had
a
Match
Tapir.
Factory. We had Match Factory.
Yes, there was a yes, there was a match factory. Also, one of the glass factories was in Yarracabra.
Right,
One of the glass
right.
factories was in Yarracabra.
Hmm.
We had
And we
textile
had
mills, right? We
textile
had
mill.
textile mills, so your uniform, you
And
know, the
at
cloth for
that time,
uniforms and that sort of thing.
the government used to give out free materials for school children uniform.
Okay, and you
And
also
we used to call it born on bedding because it was green and cream.
yes, I remember, I recall that. But it just show how, you know, Lyndon Forbes Samson Barnum, he wanted his people to be very self-sufficient. He wanted people to be, you know,
Right.
efficient. He didn't want his people to be dependent, fully dependent or overly dependent on foreign
On the
input.
foreign country.
Things
Right.
that you can actually get right in Guyana. There were also
Mhm.
clay brick factories. I think on the
Yes,
West Bank and the East Bank, they were clay brick factories.
because I can remember Good for Waxing Road was built out of that clay brick.
Correct. Beverly Gentle, thank you very much. A glass factory was also located in Pleasance. Thank you, Miss Gentle. And anyone out there
Yes.
who remember those past times, please share what you know. Share what you know. It's Independence Eve, and we're going to talk a little bit about our independence and about the great leader, Lyndon Forbes Samson Barnum. We cannot forget about him. You know, this installed regime wants to erase that history, but we are going to keep invoking and reminding them that Lyndon Forbes Samson Barnum existed. And we're going to
Yeah.
carry on. We're going to carry on with the history. We will not let it die. Look, infrastructure.
We also had the Guyana National Service, where a lot of young people. I mean, my father was in the army, but a lot of young people, both of my brothers passed through the national service. We
Yes,
had the Guyana National Service.
a lot of young people would have learned their trade right there in the Guyana
Hmm.
National Service. And I think
Hmm.
Guyana has fallen on such bad times that I believe it is necessary with a new government to try to bring back the Guyana National Service and get some of the youths off the street, get them to do trades, get them to work. You got to empower them. Some people is just say, oh, they don't want to work. Well, you got to invest time in them.
You
I
have
would
to
not just
invest in the
say, oh, they
nation.
don't want to work. You got to invest time. It takes time. It took time for them to turn the way that they are now. So it's going to take some time to get them back on the right track. Just the way it's going to take some time to get Guyana back on track.
But when I know for sure, and I challenge anybody to prove me wrong. As soon as the coalition went into power, all the youths suddenly pulled themselves together.
So, Miss Cox, I would say in the time, in the 60s, in the 70s, in the 80s, the youths in school and in general in society were more structured.
Hmm.
Today's youth is all over the place. You see them with a
Yeah,
smartphone,
because they
you see
have
them with a tablet, you see them with all these things, and they're not really tapping into the education that's available on these smartphones and tablets. They're doing their own thing.
That's because the youth these days feel as though we have failed them. And when I say we, whether in opposition or in power, we are still part of the government. I don't know how many persons understand that. And the government is failing them. And we also, as opposition, is failing the youth. So they're scattered. They're scattered. And we need to get out there and talk to the youths more, encourage the youths, and let them understand that there is a future for them. It might look dull now, but better will come, according to Nigel. You
Well, well,
better will come.
I hope that we can get to the youths, and it's not the PPPC trying to get to them by bringing Burna Boy to Guyana every year, amongst other artists. Because the PPPC does not have an interest in Guyana having youth with good education, solid basic education. They're not
No,
interested
they
in.
don't because Priya already. I mean, they haven't even complete their discussion, their negotiation, and Priya already put it out there that there'll be no end of term test. So if there is no end of term test, how can the children cope when they enter a higher class? How would they be able to cope?
That is very, very much true. That is so true. I'm looking at a comment here by Mr. Colin Barnwell. And by the way, good evening to you, Mr. Barnwell. I hope you're keeping well. Youths are inspired by strength. They need to see strong leadership. That is
That's
absolutely
right.
correct. That
That
is
is
absolutely correct.
absolutely correct. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If they don't, it's simply even in the home. If the head of the home is not strong enough, it's chaos. Most of the time, the mother is be the strong one in the home. And you look to see how those children is turn out. You must have a strong leader, even in a home.
Yes. Well, charity begins at home. Everything starts in the home. And then it extends out to the community, your neighbor, then to the wider community. But it all starts at home, and also school. It's very important. That's why it's so important, Miss Cox, and this is something that you've been on the ground with the teachers. That's why it's so important that the government pay the teachers properly, because it's imperative that the students in Guyana have strong teachers, knowledgeable teachers, and teachers that are happy, enthused, empowered, want to work, want to execute on behalf of their students.
When
But if you're not paying them,
that is something is being preached every single day. Pay the teachers, make the teachers happy. It is being preached even in the Caribbean, even in the Caribbean countries are seen and standing in solidarity with our teachers. But as I said, the negotiation is not over yet, but Priya already said there is no end of term test. So she definitely, or the government definitely, holding the teachers out, holding them at ransom, don't want to pay them. And I'm so sad for our children of today because we already have chaos with our young people. And education is very, very important. And if they're not getting the kind of education they need to have, what sort of society are we breeding? What sort of society are are we breeding? Like it's a real sad situation in Guyana. I
yes,
just
thank
hope
you.
that Guyana wake up, whether you're East Indian, Amerindian, Black, Chinese, whatever. I hope persons wake up next year. Wake up now, but next year vote on issues and not vote on party affiliation. Um, because we need change. We need change. I am appealing. Maybe I'm the first to start appealing to Guyanese people to give the coalition a chance. The coalition went in there. We were on the blacklist, and the coalition took us off of the blacklist. We were high on the agenda of with drugs, and the coalition took us off of that.
Well,
Sadly, we are going back here.
Ms. Cox, let me just add a little bit when you speak about drugs and narcotics and these type of things. The Guyana, the economy in Guyana was built on that. Corruption and
Yeah.
racketeering, drugs, that was your economy, and everybody was seeing a consistent flow of money and thought that, hey, yes, the money is real, but the source of that flow of money, totally illegal. When the coalition got in there, that's when we got an opportunity to see a stripped down Guyana economy, what it looks like when you remove all the illegalities from it. And that's when people started complaining. And when people, based on the complaints that people were making, it goes to say that the PPP did nothing. They did nothing in those 23 years. Nothing. We were
And
still using the
they
infrastructure that was put together by Lyndon Forbes Samson Born, and we were still using his infrastructure,
and
the
they're
Lyndon
still
Highway, the
doing it,
Rupert
and
Craig
they are
Highway.
doing it. They are doing that even today. Look, there are three streets in Stanleyton: 55, 56, 57. Um, yes, they went ahead and they made concrete strips because those aren't streets. But I can remember when I came to New Amsterdam to live, those streets were good streets. You could have walked through, right through, by cars, everything used to pass through there. Those streets left to deteriorate so bad that it started to grow grass, and the PPP did nothing to those streets. Today they're putting up, they're putting concrete street strips and posting up how they have no shame before and after. You were there before. Why didn't you fix it? Why did you leave? You want to tell me these streets become like that in the 4 years that the coalition went in power? Is
Well,
that
Miss,
what you're trying to tell me? In 4 years, this is the condition these streets Toronto. When you were there before and had nothing to do with New Amsterdam, absolutely nothing with New Amsterdam. Now you're doing some streets and you want to post before and after, they have no shame.
well, look, Miss Cox, there, and you said it. The Guyanese people, they need to wake up. Some of them, because some Guyanese are well awakened. They are well awakened. They understand what's going on. They see what's going on, and they intend to make a difference come 2025. But there are still some who are still sleepwalking through this whole dilemma. I'm going to say this. The people of Guyana, they have to remember this, that this present dispensation of the PPPC, their installed regime, is working with an oil economy. The coalition
We
was
had
not
no
working with
oil.
such. Right.
No, we had
So,
no oil.
so there is so much revenue available to do the necessary works.
And the coalition also raised the debt ceiling. We weren't in so much debt. We weren't in so much debt.
Well, you got to understand the people, and Guyanese, if they don't change, make that change in 2025, they are going to pay the price. Their children, grandchildren, and future generations will pay the price, because all of these loans. Now, if I'm getting all this oil revenue, you're going into the natural resource fund, you're doing all these things. Why are you still taking out loans? Why is Guyana still borrowing and borrowing in the amounts that they're borrowing in?
Because they
These,
know their time is up, so they have to borrow enough to live with.
well, no, right. They have to borrow enough to live with. But also, remember, it's all, though installed, it's still a government that is borrowing. So the new government that comes in and assumes power
Has to pay that,
has to
has
deal
to
with
pay that
all of
debt.
these expenses. And then the people of Guyana needs to open up their minds, open up their understanding, and understand who would have incurred these expenses, and make sure that that government never see the light of power again. That is how serious the Guyanese people has to get. It is mandatory if the country is to survive and not go into bankruptcy, where you have these companies come in and take over all the highways because you didn't make your payments.
Right.
And how are they gonna recoup their money? They're gonna put tolls on all those highways. And Guyanese are already poor. So
When as I talk to you and my mind is set on, and I'm wondering what is going on with Linden. If we have any viewers here that is from Linden that can just text and let us know what is going on in Linden, because it's a sad situation in Linden when a government can walk into a region, not inform anybody, and changing the name of a ground and not informing the persons that are in charge of that region. Look, today New Amsterdam, they did their flank raising around 3 o'clock because they have to ship them out, bus load them to Linden to make it look good. If there's anybody that is on this live that is from Linden, and you can kindly text and let us know what is the situation in Linden, how persons are doing in Linden with these bullies that are in your region. I really pray for peace in Linden, and hope that they be able to stand strong and pull through this trying time.
Yes, so viewers, um Our time is almost up. We are just like 7 minutes into our program time. I would like to appeal to us as Guyanese to let's put our shoulders together, let's put our hands together, and let's encourage each other, give each other the strength to stand up during this trying time that we are going through in Guyana with these oppressors. I have no better name to call them than oppressors, you know, that 2025 will soon be here and we will be given another chance to do the right thing, to choose our future and not our favorites. Wayne?
Yes, my apologies, everyone. I got kicked out there for just a moment.
Not hearing
My
you.
Am I audible? Nothing. Keep going. Keep going. Are you hearing me, Miss Cox?
Go ahead, Wayne.
Am I audible, Miss Cox? Yes. Hi, everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible? Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you, Vilma Adams. Thank you, Miss Brenda Braithwaite. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, sorry about that. Experiencing some technical difficulties there, but happy to be back. I was just going through some additional comments from you guys, and I saw, because I asked for you guys to talk about some of the things that you would have experienced in the time of Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum. We talk about Short Factory. I saw someone spoke about Greco Radio. Yes, Greco Radio assembled transistor radios in Guyana. Someone also spoke of Iceberg company that assembled fridges and freezers in Guyana. And I know many of you probably could remember also Correa's. Correa's canned orange juice, pineapple juice. They also had a lemonade factory. Guyana Marketing Corporation, that also existed under Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum. I also saw a comment from someone reminding me that Guyana had its own national airline, Guyana Airways Corporation. Yes, Guyana Airways Corporation. You guys keep sending in your comments. There was also a place called Mahine, and some of these businesses are privately owned. But it just showed you how diverse Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum was. A lot of our Indian brothers and sisters and their ancestors would have gained a tremendous amount of land in the time of Lyndon Forbes Barnum because they wanted to do their craft, which is rice farming and farming in general. And they were allocated large sums of land to do so. So, what, from a holistic perspective, what Mr. Barnum was trying to implement, he was showing that Guyana goes nowhere without all six ethnic groups on the same page. And that is what this install regime is failing to understand. Look, I was looking at a piece that says businessman investing 500 million in no Guyanese businessman. Every time you see these type of deals or these type of situations, you could just look and say, look, it's no other but an Indo-Guyanese. And it should not be that way. It should not be that way. It is that way by design. It is that way by design. There is no doubt about that. No question asked. The Honorable Mr. Nigel Hughes would have done a presentation at Ipadagy depicting exactly what I'm summarizing. That there's such imbalance in Guyana when it comes to distribution of wealth. Anyone who is wealthy or have a massive business, for the most part, is aligned with the PPPC. And you're telling me that that's just a flip of a coin? It just happened that way? No. It was designed that way. It was designed that way by the PPPC and the external forces that support them. It was designed that way by the PPPC and the external Ms. Cox, you're in the AFC. You're a part of the AFC. You're a member of the AFC. How competent are you that there would be no interference? External interference at the 2025 elections. Ms. Cox, you can hear me? Okay.
Can you hear me?
We're not hearing you.
I'm not hearing you.
I'm not. Ms. Cox is not hearing me, and I'm not hearing Ms. Cox. So I'm going to continue. Is not hearing me, and I'm not hearing Ms. Cox. So I'm going to continue. To my listeners and viewers, you guys can use the chat box to answer. How competent are you guys that there will not be no interference in the 2025 elections by external forces? In the 2025 elections by external forces. Let me check your comments. Check your comments.
Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me?
Okay, Jamal Aziz said that there will be interference. Okay, Jamal Aziz at the 2025 election. Henry Ford, am I still having a feedback? Mr. Henry Fordyce, am I still having a feedback? Am I still having a feedback? Mr. Henry Fordyce, am I still having a feedback? Am I still having a Oh, we're still having a feedback on my end. All right. All right, we're going to test the feedback now. Am I audible? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me with no feedback? Okay, Mr. Fordyce says, okay, now it's good now. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Fordyce, thank you, Miss Brenda Brathwaite. We had some interruption in today's program, but yet we're not going to allow that to stop our fire. We are not going to allow that to stop our fire and desire to see our country, Guyana, get back on track and become a Guyana for all its people. I am of the opinion, now this is Wayne Caesar's opinion, we have not seen any move from the Guyana Elections Commission with regards to the 2025 elections. We're a little more than a year out, because I'm figuring this, guys, and you guys can tell me how you feel. Barry Jagdeo may want the months that was used in getting the elections all sorted out. He may want that time back. So the elections may not fall in August. It may fall maybe in November of next year. So I am anticipating that the elections will fall sometime around November of next year. But let's pivot back to GCOM. You're just over a year out from elections, and you have not reached out to the Guyanese people to let them know of your readiness, or what mechanisms are being put in place to make the elections in Guyana really free and fair. We don't see a new voters list. Thank you, Mark Vigilance. We don't see biometrics. Thank you, Mr. Colin Barwell. Colin Barwell said if the tables are turned, Jagdeo and his crew would make Guyana ungovernable. Well, Colin Barwell, Guyana could only become ungovernable if the people of Guyana allow Barry Jagdeo and his crew to make Guyana ungovernable. I think the onus is upon the people. The people needs to understand their right, that Guyana belongs to them. Guyana belongs to them. It is my belief that Barry Jagdeo is merely planted in Guyana to separate the people with his racial rhetoric. You know, Barry Jagdeo talked about eradicating racism. It's like putting a cat to watch milk and a rat to watch cheese. Barry Jagdeo is it's probably the biggest racist in Guyana. And he's talking about eradicating racism. How? What are you going to do? There is so much messages from Barry Jagdeo that you could find on YouTube and all over the place, where he would have invoked racism. He said the soldiers and the policemen don't vote for APNU plus, don't vote for APNU. The soldiers and the policemen gonna kick down your doors and rape your daughters and your wives. You said that, Barry Jagdeo. You said when the government of Nagamutu and Granger come into your villages, chase them out. And I do hope that the people of Linden turn the tables and chase y'all out when y'all coming later today, if y'all are not already there. You guys don't do anything for Linden. Chase y'all out, man. Y'all have failed the people of Guyana. And the people of Linden needs to stand up tonight. Don't let Jermaine Figueroa come out or Devon Sears and say, y'all keep calm. No. It's nothing about keeping calm. There's nothing about keeping calm. Linden is the epicenter when it comes to standing up against the PPPC. Linden is the epicenter. Mr. Deron Adams, Sharma Solomon, Apostle Eliakim, among many others who would have stood up to the oppression. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. And the opposition has a lot of work to do. The opposition has a whole The opposition has a lot of work to do because they need to find a way to weed out some of those members who are not executing and is merely occupying seats. When we talk about the Public Accounts Committee, you hear, oh, the PPPC changed the rules. That's not good enough for me. Whomever is the head of the Public Accounts Committee should be having sleepless nights trying to get those rules reversed. You can't come out with your face looking all fat and chubby and good and everything and talking about people in Brooklyn shouldn't boycott. You got your own issues at home that you're not taking care of. You're just occupying a seat. This is not about occupation, it's about execution. You got to execute for the people of Guyana. That's what you're there for. That's what you're being paid for. Apostle Eliakim said something on his show about people calling Barry Jagdeo the vice president. And he's correct. There's no such thing as vice president in the Constitution. And let's say there was. When last has Guyana had a vice president? What gave Barry Jagdeo the right to be the vice president? They put Barry Jagdeo in front of Mark Phillips. Well, Mark Phillips ain't got too much sense. Instead of challenging certain behaviors of the PPP, he's busy messaging the owner here at 107.1 FM to talk nonsense. Mark Phillips, you need to get yourself together. You need to get yourself together and recognize what's happening. Guyanese, don't let the PPPC spoil your independence. There's a lot to be thankful for. And I'm not talking about in the present. There's nothing presently to be thankful about. Because we're in, right now, Guyana is in reverse. Guyana is in reverse. One other thing that I asked the babies of the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, I asked them in those times if they ever felt that they were hungry. And they told me, they said, Wayne, there was food all over the place. They said if we wanted cereal, there was Cerex. There was so much food that the neighbors used to feed and everybody used to just feed each other. Right now, children are hungry in Guyana. Children are going to school hungry. How can they learn? How can you have an educated nation if your children are hungry? How can you? That's why you have so many young men in the streets that are totally lost because the system has failed them. And let's look at it. Let's extend beyond the system. Systems are controlled by who? Government. So essentially, the government has failed the people, specifically the young people. Our pensioners, it is sad. it is sad to watch how our pensioners are forced to live off of next to nothing. And they are the ones who would have built Guyana so that we today can inherit something. But the PPPC is damaging all the work that they would have done. I say this, Guyana is not for sale, man. Guyana is not for sale. Guyana belongs to the people of Guyana. I'm not going to get too much into this argument, but it is still of my belief that the PPPC is not a legitimate government. Everybody quick to talk about Order 60. I have never seen that the parliament would have held a session voting for Order 60. I've never seen or heard that the parliament would have held a session that had a vote that says that Guyanese going forward must pay for university. Those two, I haven't seen. If it has happened, can someone please educate me? But I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. The PPPC is just making up rules as they go. They are just making up rules as they go. How do we get GCOM to move? How do we get GCOM to move when it comes to a new voters list? How are we going to get them to move? We have to get GCOM to move. And I think in order for GCOM to move, there is going to be a need for protest. There is going to be a need for protest. We know that throughout history, protests have been the driving force behind some of the most powerful social movements in the world. Whether it's exposing injustice and abuse or demanding accountability and inspiring people as a unit together for a better future. And that's what the Guyanese people are looking for. They are looking for a better Guyana. Protest has always been the catalyst for change, always. It's nothing new. And in the case of Guyana, it is needed, it is necessary, and it needs to happen. Or else, what's going to happen at the next election? You're going to go to elections with the same list. Because time is going all the time, no change. There's no change happening right now at GCOM. When we get close, they're going to say, hey, look, elections is upon us, or you guys have to wait another year for us to get everything ready for elections. We don't want that. We don't want that. We need to get on our game, Guyanese. And I'm glad tonight is Independence Eve. And, I get an opportunity to be here with you guys. So that we could, it was a great exchange with you guys, talking about the past, things that we had in Guyana, so that people don't think that, they just use the word never see, come see, that we are never see, come see. Guyana was once the breadbasket of the Caribbean. We had a very intellectual, successful, visionary. Oh yes, LFS Barnum was a great visionary. And he was way before his time. He was way before his time. How would LFS function in today's world? He would chew everybody up and spit them out easily. Easily. One of our listeners, viewers asked to play a presentation to the or a speech to the nation for Lyndon Forbes, Samson Barnum, and then after he would like one to be played where Jack Dio is speaking to the nation. I'm gonna leave that one to Mr. Mark Anthony Benchcop and Lemon to put together. Maybe it could happen sometime during this week. But I'll be prepared to laugh. I'll have my popcorn and my soda because that one is going to be very interesting. It's going to be very interesting because Barry Jagdeo is no match. Barry Jagdeo doesn't have the substance. He doesn't have the pedigree. Okay? He does not have the pedigree or the substance. Yes, and somebody just invoked the name of the late, great Hugh Desmond Hoyt. Yes, Barry Jagdeo is no match to Hugh Desmond Hoyt either. He's no match to Dr. Chetty Jagan either. Okay? Barry Jagdeo just come out of the gutters. That's it. That's it. But he fit the script of those external forces that wants to keep Guyana in balance. Because when you have a country in balance and people are suffering economically, they can't focus. They got to worry every day about where the next meal is going to come from, where money is going to come from to pay the rent, how is money going to come in to send the children to school, all these different issues. So they cannot focus on their resources being taken out of their country. They cannot focus on that. They got to focus on how they will eat. That's why it's so important, my brothers and sisters, especially those on the ground in Guyana. And I'm talking to all 6 ethnic groups because this is going to benefit all of you guys. For you guys to come out as a collective in 2025 and vote this government out. Once and for all, let your voices be heard. You had a coalition government from 2015 to 2020, although it was 3 years, 2 years, they were just there as a take care of government. The biggest thing that I was happy about with the coalition is that my brothers and sisters weren't dying every day. Life is the most important thing. You must have life first before you can do anything else. I give 100% to the coalition for keeping Guyanese alive under their reign, because that's the most important thing to me. Secondly, in order for every Guyanese to be able to eat and to be satisfied, to make a proper wage and everything, and wages did go up for public servants under the coalition. Public servants did get a raise under the coalition. But what the public servants have to understand is that the coalition didn't have a barrage of oil revenue that they could say, hey, let's go into the natural resource fund and let's give our teachers a whopping raise. Let's give our nurses a whopping raise. I assure you, if they do get their hands on the oil money now, that the Guyanese people will benefit. The Guyanese people will benefit. Barry Jagdeo said that the Guyanese people will not benefit much from the oil revenue. So why extract the oil? The oil belongs to the people. If they're not going to benefit, why extract it? Who is benefiting from it? Who is benefiting from it? And while I'm at it, I ask the question, Barry Jagdeo, why are you still in government? What is your purpose for being in government? What is your vision for the people of Guyana and from a holistic perspective, Guyana? What is your vision? You come on press conference after press conference. What is your vision for the people of Guyana? And when I talk about people, I mean all 6 ethnic groups. When are we going to start getting some CXC grade 1s from the interlands? Why our indigenous brothers and sisters have to be born into failure? Because that is what's happening. When you're born and you don't have the ability to get a good education because it's not provided to you, you're born into failure. We got less than 1 million people. We're an oil-producing nation. Why we can't pay our teachers? Why are our children born into failure? But you guys could get on the stage and you guys could dance. Your installed president could get on the stage and gyrate himself. Oh yeah, and he could send out Christmas cards, picture with him and his family having a jolly time. While your people suffer. While your people suffer. You guys don't get blackouts. The people does. Every day. You guys probably got your own tanks. You probably don't get water from GWI. The water is brown that's coming from there. You guys gonna do something about it? How you expect to have a healthy nation if the water they're drinking is brown? And rain is not falling as much as it used to. The people in Guyana was praying for rain. From what I understood now, they've gotten some good rain. The rain created flooding and the cocaine Essequibo gave way and all this kind of stuff. And you guys talk about putting all this money into infrastructure. Why is Cocos giving away? Where are the pumps? Barry Jagdeo, you guys get your act together. But here, it's too late. It's too late. If I see that the Guyanese people persist with this PPPC government, then I commend them for loving punishment. This government will do nothing for the people of Guyana. They have no respect for the people of Guyana. None. None whatsoever. No respect. They have no decorum. They just get together with their friends. Gonzales, Motley. And they just suck the people of Guyana for everything they have. The Indo brothers and sisters would have fared a bit better, especially those that vote along with the PPPC. But remember, when rain falls, it falls on everyone. Just remember that. We're closing in on program time here. I'm looking, it's now almost 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank Lemon for giving us the opportunity to extend the program and an extra half an hour. And of course, we have to shoot it up to our CEO. So I want to thank him, Mr. Mark Anthony Benchcop, for giving us an opportunity to carry this program for an extra half an hour. I'm going to just give you guys a quick call out. Mark Vigilance, thank you for your contribution. Miss Siobhan McDonald, Clifford Keto, thank you. Fidel Albert, always present, omnipresent. Thank you, Mr. Albert. Brother Jamal Aziz from Borbies. Good evening, sir. I hope that all is well. Miss Francine Cruz, Candy Neline, Inderji, thank you, Candy. I know you're always present. Colin Barnwell, that's my friend. How are you, Mr. Barnwell? Riri Mingo Garwe, thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you so much. Mr. Leeton K. Charles, always present. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Charlene Dukes, thank you so much. Thank all of you guys. Carl Miller, always present. Clyde McPherson. Henry Fordyce, of course, thank you. I called your name earlier. GT Root Girl, if you're there, thank you. And John, thank you. Miss Lachman Aziz, thank you so much. P. Ali Cock, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're gonna have to have a show where we elaborate on more of the things that we had back in the days in the LFS Barnum times. We're gonna have a show that we're gonna just talk Barnum and the things that we had. I think Barnum also created multilateral schools. This guy in everything. This guy in everything, and that just shows you how much he cared about his people. And you know, Barnum also played a massive role when it comes to cricket, you know. Oh, yes. He played a massive role when it came to cricket. Guyanese had to be on that West Indian cricket team. And Lyndon Forbes Barnum was a model for all, not some, all the other Caribbean leaders. Was very instrumental in putting together CARICOM amongst other things. So this guy, he's not just a part of Guyana history, but I will deem Lyndon Forbes Samson Barnum the founding father. Anybody else is the founding uncle or the founding first brother. In my opinion, Wayne Caesar, Lyndon Forbes Samson Barnum is the father of Guyana, especially when we look at the Guyana we had and look at the Guyana that we currently have here. All right, I would have give you guys a list. I would have called and invoke all those names of the brothers and sisters that were executed under the PPPC government. Miss Cox, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Have you gotten any update from Lyndon?
No, I haven't received anything from Lyndon as yet. I trust all is well. I was backstage all the time waiting on you, so I haven't had a chance to connect with anybody.
Body on the ground in Lyndon.
Mm.
Well, I hope
Yeah.
that the people of Lyndon come out in the numbers and rebuff this PPPC attempt at a flag raising in Lyndon, where they would have notified the mayor and other councillors
A day
in Lyndon
before.
on Thursday. On Thursday. That is what the Honorable Sharma Solomon said. On Thursday, they were notified. You don't just walk up into a town at the last minute. And it would have, it would have been in their best interest probably to choose another town. Because Lyndon is named after the Honorable late great Lyndon Forbes Samson Barnum. And
When it to me,
the
if
PPPC
I
does not.
may say,
Okay.
Wayne, if I may say, I don't think choosing the tongue is the problem. It's the way they went about it, the disrespect. Now, Lyndon had their tongue week, and according to the mayor, he invited the prime minister and the minister of sports to be there, and they did not show. The cleanup before the Lyndon tongue week, it was in a sunny season, and the government did not help them to clean that place up. But now rain is falling, and now you pretending to say you going and clean place. A day before flag raising, you gonna inform the person that is in charge of the region that you're coming in there, and you didn't inform them that you come in until they start to grumble. Then you find it fit to say, okay, as they're talking, send an invitation and give them. So the problem is not going to Linden and celebrate, but is the way that it is being done. And that is what I want Guyanese to understand. It's not going to Linden to have the flag raising. That's not a problem. It's the way in which you do it.
But Ms. Cox, here, what's my issue? Why would you want to go to Linden to have a flag raising ceremony, when your general secretary talked down that person that tongue was named after? Why would you want to go there? Why?
When
Ms. Cox,
if you understand,
no, Ms. Cox, let me get this point across clearly. The PPPC has not been good to Afro-Guyanese over this past 3.5 years.
agreed.
Linden is a tongue. No, they have not been good to Afro-Guyanese and individuals from all 6 ethnic groups that does not support them. Linden is a stronghold of the opposition. Okay? The PPPC could go to Babu John and they can hold their version of the flag raising. And the people of Linden could have bring the leader of the opposition, Dr. Hines, and important individuals on their side and have their flag raising. Because remember this, Barry Jagdeo says that if the PPPC wasn't put into government, that there would be 2 governments in Guyana.
But flag
Okay?
raising normally being held at the national park. Come on. We running all over the place doing.
Mark Phillips was indeed invited to the Linden Tongue Week. I would have
And he
heard
did not show.
he did not show. Right. I didn't expect Ramson to show up. Who is Ramson? Who's Ramson? What Ramson does? These guys are ineffective.
Then
It's just
put
occupation.
aside what they does and who they be. You are a government official. You are a government official. You were invited to a celebration of a tongue. And if you are ruling or you said one Guyana, then you should have been there. You should have been there. That's my thing.
But Ms. Cox, with all due respect, I don't know anything about no one Guyana. I know about one people, one nation, one destiny. That's our national motto, and that's it.
That's what we know, yes.
One
But
Guyana,
they're
but
saying
one
one
Guyana
Guyana.
has not.
Show us the one Guyana. Show
One
us
Guyana
the
has
one
not.
Guyana. You saying that?
One Guyana have not shown to have done anything and pay any dividends for the Guyanese people. So forget one Guyana. Forget one Guyana. What
When we
needs to
are in
start,
a
Ms. Cox,
sad situation.
essentially, Ms. Cox, what needs to start happening is that the people of Guyana need to stop having one man dictate terms for entire nation. It's been happening too long, and the nation continues to struggle and fail. Okay? Because the person is not savvy enough. And you can't have one brain making all the decisions. You need a collective of people to make decisions in relation to a nation. This guy have all types of external contacts. All type of external contacts who he negotiates with. We need to start holding Barajagdio accountable. Stop buying the nonsense.
When we should have been holding him accountable. We shouldn't start. We should have been doing that. Not
And
start now. We should have been doing that.
correct is right. But it's because we have not been doing it. We have allowed this monstrosity to grow. It is because it has not. That's why some people talk about protesting is important. It's essential. You have to do it.
It's a democratic right.
Correct. And sometimes that's what it takes to get the attention of government. Because what it shows government is that the people do not agree with what they're doing. But Ms.
But in all of it, to have that protest, we need a strong leader that will step out there in front of us and lead us. I can remember there's one high time when there was a protest and I can't remember who it is. I think it was Corbyn. They lock up. Desmond Hyde came out and carried that protest, and nobody could have touched him. We need strong leadership. And that's the only how the people are going to come out and protest, if you lead.
Well, Ms. Cox, I'm so happy to hear that from you, because you are a part of the AFC. And the fact that you're invoking the fact that we need strong leadership, it sends a message. It truly sends a message.
Yes, when come the 29th of next month, we will be selecting our leader, and we will be electing a strong leader that will lead the Alliance for Change.
Ms. Cox, I'm so happy that you said that. I just want all the listeners and viewers to also know that the AFC, a party of the coalition, will also be having their election at the end of June.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata Francis Vietnam, and since 1965, I become a voter, and I always place my ex next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by 1 vote, they're losing it by data.
Ms. Cox, your closing remarks, please.
I want to tell us as Guyanese, happy independence to all of us. It's a very special occasion. Let nobody put a damper on your celebration. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe. No drinking and driving. Put down the weapons. Embrace love. And let us enjoy our independence. On the behalf of the Alliance for Change, I want to wish all of Guyana happy independence.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cox. Well said, and thank you for joining. My brothers and sisters, I want to thank you all for joining tonight. I hope that the program was very edifying. I want to thank you all for your participation. You guys really participated this evening, and I love that. Just like I love each and every one of you here. I want you guys to enjoy your independence tomorrow, yes, because we could have still been under colonial rule, okay? But we are independent, and we are going to continue to demonstrate our independence. We will not have a reversal. So
Happy
May 20,
Independence Month.
May 26, 1966 is always going to be etched in the hearts of each and every one of you. Good night, everyone. Until next week, I'll see you guys. And I promise you guys I'll be on Straight Up at least twice this coming week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my name is Jacinty Caldata, Francis C. Vietnam, and since 1965, I become a voter. And I always place my X next to the cup. And what they are doing today, I can't take it. So I have no more vote to give to PPP anymore. I'm not going to vote anymore no more. If they have to lose by one vote, they're losing it by data. I have none.
Oh, Jesus Christ, if cost of living double, I don't know what happened. A pound of sugar is $300 already. Flour, everything gone up. Everything just raising. You gotta get about $40,000 for buy good ration. You gotta get 3 man now. A weekend man, a monthly man, and a fortnight man.